The ancient world was a mosaic of diverse civilizations, landscapes, and cultures that shaped the course of human history. Among these were the Canaanites, the indigenous people of a region that has been continuously contested, conquered, and convicted throughout the ages. The Land of Canaan, situated along the eastern Mediterranean, is more than just a geographical location. It is a crossroads of ancient empires, a battleground of civilizations, and a cradle of early human society. The documentary-style narrative delves into the complete history of the Canaanites, exploring their origins, geography, cultural evolution, and the complex web of political intrigue that defined their existence. The Canaanites were one of the earliest known civilizations in a region rich with history, but also fraught with conflict. The Land of Canaan corresponds roughly to present-day Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, and parts of Jordan and Syria. This region, often referred to as the Levant, has been at the heart of human settlement since prehistoric times. The Levant is characterized by an extraordinary variety of landscapes, from fertile river valleys to arid deserts, coastal plains to rugged mountain ranges. This geographic diversity played a crucial role in the development of early human societies, influencing settlement patterns, agricultural practices, and social structures. For the Canaanites, this land was both a blessing and a curse, rich in strategic importance, but often lacking the resources needed to sustain large populations. Canaan's geography is a defining element of its history. The land can be divided into four primary regions: the coastal plain, the hill country, the Jordan Rift Valley, and the Transjordan Plateau. Each of these areas had distinct characteristics that influenced the way people lived, fought, and interacted with one another. 1. The coastal plain. This strip of land runs along the Mediterranean Sea and includes some of the most fertile soil in Canaan. The coastal plain was ideal for agriculture, but was also highly vulnerable to invasion due to its flat terrain and proximity to sea roads. 2. The hill country. Inland from the coast lies the hill country, a rugged region characterized by steep slopes, high elevations, and scattered springs. This area was difficult to unite but also challenging to conquer, fostering a culture of independence and frequent conflict among the Canaanite city-states. 3. The Jordan Rift Valley. One of the most extreme topographical features on Earth, the Jordan Rift Valley includes the lowest point of land at the Dead Sea. The valley's microclimates varied greatly, from the dry southern expanses near the Dead Sea to the lush, fertile northern regions near the Sea of Galilee. 4. The Transjordan Plateau. East of the Jordan Rift, this plateau was home to several ancient Canaanite tribes and later kingdoms, including the Ammonites, Moabites, and Edomites. The plateau was marked by most river valleys, fed by underground springs, making it an area of strategic and agricultural importance. Canaan's fragmented geography naturally divided its inhabitants into numerous microregions, each with its own unique climate, resources, and defensive advantages. The division fostered a fiercely independent spirit among the Canaanites but also made them vulnerable to external threats. The location of Canaan made it one of the most contested regions in the ancient world. It sat at the crossroads of major land roads connecting Egypt with Mesopotamia and the greater Near East. Whoever controlled Canaan held the keys to regulating and taxing the flow of goods, armies, and ideas between these ancient power centers. However, controlling Canaan was never easy. The extreme topographical variation from mountains to plains to deserts made large-scale conquests challenging. Empires that sought to dominate the region had to contend with its fractured landscape and fiercely independent inhabitants. For millennia, imperial armies marched through Canaan, seeking to expand their domains or secure their borders. The land became a vital strategic asset in the ancient world, coveted by Egyptians, Hittites, Assyrians, Babylonians, and many others. Despite its lack of abundant natural resources, Canaan's position as a gateway between continents made it invaluable. The Canaanites were the indigenous inhabitants of the region, primarily descended from those who had lived in Canaan since prehistoric times. Their society was not a monolithic entity, but rather a patchwork of city-states, each with its own ruler, culture, and traditions. Despite their political fragmentations, the Canaanites shared common linguistic, religious, and cultural traits. A. Language and religion. Canaanite culture was deeply rooted in Semitic tradition, and their language was closely related to Hebrew, Phoenician, and Aramaic. The Canaanites practiced a polytheistic religion with a pantheon of gods and goddesses, the most prominent being Ewan, the chief god, and Baal, the storm and fertility god. Religious practices included temple worship, animal sacrifices, and various ritualistic ceremonies that aimed to appease the gods and ensure agricultural fertility and protection from enemies. B. Social structure and daily life. Canaanite society was organized into city-states, each centered around a fortified urban core surrounded by farmland. These city-states were often in conflict with one another, driven by competition for resources and political dominance. Major Canaanite cities included Jericho, Jerusalem, Megiddo, and Hazor, each of which held strategic and economic importance. Canaanite daily life was heavily influenced by the land's agricultural cycles. The coastal plain and the hill country were highly dependent on seasonal rainfall, making the storage of food and water a necessity for survival. During times of drought or famine, conflicts over resources became inevitable, leading to periods of migration or warfare. The history of Canaan is marked by the rise and fall of its city-states, influenced by internal strife and external pressures. From the early Bronze Age to the Iron Age, Canaanite cities evolved, prospered, and were often subjected to the whims of more powerful empires. A. Early Bronze Age 3300 to 2000 BC. During the early Bronze Age, several fortified Canaanite towns grew into major urban centers. Cities like Enisur, Megiddo, and Jericho were thriving hubs of trade and culture. However, the end of this period saw a dramatic decline, with many large cities being abandoned in favor of smaller farming villages and a semi-nomadic way of life. B. Middle Bronze Age 2000 to 1550 BC. The Middle Bronze Age marked a resurgence of urbanism in Canaan. Major cities like Hazor in the north, Ashkelon on the coast, and Jerusalem in the hill country became prominent centers of power. This period was characterized by increased trade, the construction of impressive fortifications, and growing interaction with neighboring civilizations, including Egypt and Mesopotamia. The strategic importance of Canaan didn't go unnoticed by powerful empires. Egyptian pharaoh Senweret III was among the first to campaign in the region, extracting tribute from local rulers and asserting dominance over the southern Levant. At the same time, northern Canaan faced pressure from Emirate Kingdom of Canaan, highlighting the region's constant vulnerability to external influence. C. The Hyksos and the Egyptian response 1650 to 1550 BC. One of the most significant episodes in Canaanite history was the rise of the Hyksos, a group of Canaanite migrants who seized control of the Nile Delta around 1650 BC. The Hyksos ruled as pharaohs for about a century, bringing Canaanite cultures and innovations into Egypt. The rule, however, was marked by conflict, and they were eventually expelled by the Egyptians, leading to a period of intense militarization in Egypt aimed at preventing future invasions from Canaan. The Hyksos episode had a profound impact on Egyptian foreign policy. Determined to avoid a repeat of this foreign takeover, Egypt embarked on a series of military campaigns aimed at securing control over Canaan and subjugating its city-states. The Egyptian New Kingdom, under rulers like Thutmose III, brought much of the Levant under direct Egyptian rule, making the Canaanite city-states their vassals. D. The Battle of Megiddo and Egyptian dominance. One of the most famous battles of this period was the Battle of Megiddo in 1457 BC, fought between the forces of Egyptian pharaoh Thutmose III and a coalition of rebellious Canaanite kings. Megiddo, a strategically located city controlling the entrance to the Jezreel Valley, was of immense importance. Thutmose III's victory at Megiddo was significant, not just for its immediate tactical success, but also for establishing long-term Egyptian control over Canaan. Following the battle, Thutmose III continued to campaign in the region of nearly 14 years, systemically quelling rebellions and consolidating Egyptian influence. This period marked the height of Egyptian power in Canaan, with numerous fortresses, administrative centers, and trade routes firmly under Egyptian control. Around 1200 BC, the ancient Near East underwent a period of unprecedented upheaval known as the Bronze Age collapse. Empires crumbled, cities were destroyed, and entire populations were displaced in what was one of the history's most dramatic dark ages. Canaan was not spared from this turmoil. During this chaotic time, a group of seafaring invaders known as the Sea People descended upon the region. Among them were the Palset, who settled along the southern coast of Canaan and later became known as the Philistines. The Philistines, like of Aegean origin, assimilated with the surviving Canaanite population and established a distinct cultural and political presence in the region. As Egypt's grip on Canaan weakened, a power vacuum emerged, allowing new groups, including Hebrew tribes, to establish themselves in the interior. These tribes eventually formed the Kingdom of Israel and Judah, setting the stage for a new chapter in the region's history. The Phoenician city-states, largely composed of Canaanite descendants, also rose to prominence during this period, becoming renowned traders and seafarers. The Canaanites left an indelible mark on the history of the ancient Near East. Their influence persisted through their descendants, including the Phoenicians, Israelites, and other Semitic people who carried Canaanite cultural and religious traditions into new eras. The Phoenicians, in particular, played a pivotal role in the development of Mediterranean trade networks and the spread of the alphabet, which revolutionized written communication. Over time, successive empires, Assyrian, Babylonian, Persian, and Hellenistic, absorbed the land of Canaan into their vast domains. The region's linguistic and cultural landscape evolved, transitioning from a tapestry of Semitic dialects to Aramic, Greek, and eventually Arabic. Despite these changes, the legacy of the Canaanites remained embedded in the cultural and historical fabric of the Levant. The history of the Canaanites is a testament to the resilience of people caught between the ambitions of empires and the harsh realities of their geography. While their city-states rose and fell, and their cultural identity was reshaped by centuries of conquest and assimilation, the spirit of Canaanites endured. Today, their story serves as a reminder of the complexities of ancient history and the enduring impact of those who once called the land of Canaan their home. As we look back on the ancient world, it is crucial to recognize that history isn't just a tale of conquerors and empires, but also of the everyday people who lived, struggled, and adapted to their circumstances. The Canaanites were among the earliest to forge a civilization in a land that would become one of the most contested in human history, and their legacy continues to resonate through the ages.